need that so badly, man.
The edgiest tattoo parlors.
Look at them, damn it, they're amazing.
Out-of-the-box entertainment right in front of you. Food, booze, and tattoo. Sunday at 12 midnight on Channel 96 ViuTV 6. Bird's Nest Stadium is a dream come true.
对你来说是1秒钟的一个冲动，可是对我来说会是我这一辈子的感动。
The invincible top 5 powerhouse singers. 怎么可以比啊? The ultimate battle. Witness the birth of a star. Ogawa Master Drive proudly presents Sing China Season 2 Grand Final. Sunday night at 8:30, live on multiple platforms. Rerun on Saturday at 12 midnight on Channel 99 ViuTV.
Good evening, I'm Diane in Hong Kong, and you're watching ViuTV News. Coming up on tonight's show. Hong Kong sees world's first patient who dies after contracting Japanese encephalitis through a blood transfusion. Carrie Lam expected to unveil Thai Post site for her starter home scheme in her upcoming policy address. And a US gun lobby backs calls to beef up regulation on bump stocks that turn rifles into rapid-fire weapons, but not legislation. Good evening. We begin tonight with the world's first case of a patient dying after contracting Japanese encephalitis through blood transfusion here in Hong Kong. The man passed away last Sunday. The 52-year-old had been in critical condition after being diagnosed with the virus in July. That's a month after he received a blood transfusion following a lung transplant. Japanese encephalitis is a mosquito-borne disease which could lead to swelling of the brain and death. Well, there's less than a week to go before Carrie Lam unveils her maiden policy address, and all eyes are on her starter homes proposal. Sources say a site in Tai Po has been earmarked for the project. The plot's been vacant for 20 years and is right next to the Education University of Hong Kong. Its owner, Wheelock Properties, applied in May to build more than 2,700 apartments there. The project's expected to include a mixture of private and public homes. It's meant to target households who don't qualify for public housing and aren't able to afford private homes either. Critics say they're perplexed, though, about why Wheelock would be willing to run with the proposal.
You can see that the property developer has been very cooperative, from submitting an application to change the land usage to agreeing to build private homes for the starter home scheme.
Meantime, one think tank believes it has a way to solve the city's housing woes. So much so it's drawn up solutions freeing up enough land to build almost 3 million flats. No government plan comes close to that number, so will it listen? Joe Larby takes a look in part 2 of our 3-part series on the housing crisis.
This group gathered here is trying to solve a pressing problem: how to increase access to affordable Hong Kong. It's made up of people from non-profit organisations, private businesses and the public sector coming together to draw up recommendations for the government. On this day, some of them are meeting Wing Suk. Until about a year ago, he was homeless. Now he lives in this public housing unit, measuring just under 250 square feet. The walls are thin and peeling, but he says he's happy here. He'd rejected 2 previous homes he'd drawn by ballot.
They pick with a computer. They don't beat the applicant to see if the housing is suitable. Even if you offer, some people don't want because it's just not convenient for their living and eating. It's like leaving them there to die.
Since taking the helm, Chief Executive Carrie Lam has vowed to tackle Hong Kong's land supply shortage. There's been a lot of talk recently about trimming back green belts, and Lam has actually been introducing policies to help ease people into the property market, but very little has been said about what type of homes people actually want, their quality, where they're located, and of course how much you're actually willing to compromise when it comes to size.
I think the two problems are actually interrelated, the demand-supply problem and the quality problem, because there's an imbalance in demand-supply that will drive up the property price. And subsequently, the people will sacrifice more in order to afford, to buy a house they can afford.
Some sacrifice so much they're left living in near squalid conditions. One survey ranked Hong Kong not just the least affordable city in the world, but also possibly the least affordable city ever. It's tough not to question whether current measures even come close to a fix.
Problems of this nature are not solved by tinkering at the edges and appeasing everybody. This is a radical solution. So the existing structures will have to be broken. They have to be re-engineered. But you know, this is a city that should be able to do it. It's not poor, it's rich.
The housing group's findings suggest enough land could be freed up to build as many as 2.8 million flats. Whether the political will is there, though, to make a real difference is another matter. Joel Arby, ViuTV News, Hong Kong.
Now, do tune in. We will have part 3 for you tomorrow. To some other news now. 13 fishermen died after their boat collided with a Hong Kong oil tanker in the East Sea. Japanese Coast Guard personnel say they received reports from their Chinese counterparts. Yesterday, it happened just north of the Oki Islands. The vessel had 16 crew, 4 were rescued. All 21 on board Hong Kong's Bright Oil Lucky are said to be safe. Turning overseas now, world powers fear a landmark deal to curb Iran's nuclear power might unravel after a senior U.S. administration official revealed the president could soon decertify the pact. Donald Trump has called it an embarrassment in the lead up to an October 15th deadline for him to certify Iran is complying with its terms. Tehran says it won't be the first to violate the accord under which Iran agreed to restrict its nuclear program in return for the lifting of most international sanctions against it. The president is also expected to roll out a broader strategy on Iran that would be more confrontational.
The Iranian regime supports terrorism and exports violence, bloodshed, and chaos across the Middle East. That is why we must put an end to Iran's continued aggression and nuclear ambitions. They have not lived up to the spirit of their agreement.
Meanwhile, the White House says it welcomes efforts by both Republicans and Democrats to address the use of so-called bump stocks, which turn rifles into rapid-fire weapons. It comes as the National Rifle Association made a surprise call supporting tougher restrictions on guns following the Las Vegas shooting. But it wants stricter regulation rather than legislation demanded by Democrats to tackle America's gun problem. Republican House Speaker Paul Ryan called for a review of bump stocks a day before and was backed by party members.
We certainly welcome that, would like to be part of that conversation, and we would like to see a clear understanding of the facts, and we'd like to see input from the victims' families, from law enforcement, from policymakers, and we're expecting hearings and other important fact-finding efforts on that, and we want to be part of that discussion. We're certainly open to that moving forward.
Well, over in Australia, a fifth of all illegal guns are now off the streets and in safe hands. 51,000 illegal firearms were turned over to authorities as part of the country's first gun amnesty in 20 years. The 3-month scheme allowed people to surrender weapons without punishment. Australia's tough stance on guns came after 35 people died in the 1996 Port Arthur massacre. It's not had a mass shooting since. Well, gun control is an extremely sensitive issue in the U.S., where firearms culture is deeply ingrained. But questions are being raised across Las Vegas, which has developed a gun tourism industry unlike anywhere else. Jane Lee explores the issue.
The latest mass shooting in the U.S. didn't just happen anywhere. It happened in Las Vegas, where gun culture and entertainment have been taken to a whole new level.
It's become a very, very popular attraction, without a doubt.
Genghis Cohen owns and operates Machine Gun Vegas, a firearm experience business. Here, clients can shoot automatic weapons and even kids can join in. Most of the customers are from overseas countries where guns are either harder to get or banned for citizens. Following the shooting, Cohen closed his business for 2 days and posted a statement on the website calling for stricter gun laws.
There's absolutely no reason for an average citizen who wants to have a gun to have a 100-round magazine. Okay? There is no reason for them to be able to buy accessories for their gun, which makes the gun almost fully automatic. There's just no reason for it.
Police say more than half of the 23 firearms found in the lone shooter's hotel suite were fitted with a device called a bump stock to speed up firing. The incident has brought machine gun tourism into the spotlight. While Cohen closed his doors as a show of respect to victims' families, many other gun ranges offering automatic weapon experiences remained open.
All right, next up, the latest from the world of business. A milestone day market which closed at its highest level in almost a decade. The benchmark Hang Seng climbed 0.28% to 28,458, its best mark since November 2007. It's also surged more than 3% this week, its best performance in 3 months. So what's behind the surge? Well, locally listed mainland companies. Collectively, they've gained more than 5% this week, and automakers and banks are leading the way. Hong Kong businesses have reason to smile, with business conditions improving last month after sliding in August. Orders were up in September, growing at the fastest pace in more than 2.5 years, although that rate is still quite modest. Chinese demand for goods and services here did fall for the first time in 5 months, but that drop was marginal. Analysts say the city is still on track for almost 4% annual growth in GDP in the third quarter, a big improvement on this time last year. Well, businesses isn't so good for Macau's casinos, though. Shares in gaming giants Sands, Galaxy and Wynn saw big slides after a 2% drop in tourism during the first few days of China's national holiday week. Casino executives, though, say hotels are fully booked right up to this Sunday. Catalonia's independence row might be scaring big business away. 2 of Spain's biggest banks are considering shifting headquarters away from the wealthy region. Reports suggest Sabadell and CaixaBank are also weighing up keeping corporate HQ in Barcelona, but moving its legal seat elsewhere if the region declares a split from Spain. Well, Toshiba's chip unit buyer has big plans for its new purchase. Bain Capital is hoping to cash in on its prized investment by floating it on the Tokyo Stock Exchange within 3 years. Here's Sonia Lake with more.
They've only just agreed a deal to buy Toshiba's chip business, and already Bain Capital is making bold predictions.
We want to support Toshiba's chip unit in order to continue its business as an independent Japanese company. We're also aiming to have it listed on the Tokyo Stock Exchange after a few years raising its corporate value.
A consortium led by Bain will pay $18 billion for the world's second largest NAND chip maker. It means Toshiba can plug a hole in its balance sheet caused by the bankruptcy of its US nuclear power subsidiary. It should also avoid being delisted from the Tokyo Stock Exchange, with the chip business joining it there instead.
It probably is real.